I hope PPT is visible now. PPT? Yes or no? Is it PPT is visible now? Someone can answer yes or no. Dhanush or Meghnath. Gautam Sahib. PPT is visible now. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. I think now also it is visible. I hope it is visible. Someone can.
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So now we have started with finite element analysis of the heat transfer problem, but most of the problems you are going for non-zero boundary condition where temperature is not necessarily zero, like the solid mechanics problems or structural mechanics problem. So where most of the boundary condition is zero boundary condition. So before going for the actual derivations of heat transfer analysis, the first we'll discuss about some of the boundary condition. One is penalty approach and one more is the elimination approach. You are familiar for zero boundary condition or homogeneous boundary condition where the displacements are fixed, like so v is equal to 0 or theta is equal to 0, q1 is equal to 0 at node 1. Already you have discussed, but it is not in the case of heat transfer problems most of the time. So it comes under non-homogeneous boundary condition or non-zero boundary condition. So that is the theory part. In simple way, you can understand this penalty approach. So I am repeatedly giving the same example fan. So imagine fan is initially hanged or mounted to the roof by plastic wires. So then because of the low stiffness of the plastic wire, so it can be the one end of the fan, the topmost end where it is mounted on the roof, comes down by, let it be around 10 mm. Because of low stiffness, it is not even though it is mounted, but because of the low stiffness, the fans will slightly comes down because of the self weight of the fan. That means you are not able to give the displacement q1 is equal to 0. So the top end of the rod, the fan rod, the displacement is q1 is equal to 0. Because of the low stiffness of the plastic wire or low stiffness of the mounting arrangement, it is slightly comes down by small amount. That amount is nothing but A1 now here. So that amount is A1 because of stiffness. To reduce the vertical movement of the fan at node 1 or top node, so we have to mount the fan with the coupling, some nut and bolt system or some riveted system, or using very high value stiff material. That stiffness is very high. Because of the very high stiffness, the node 1 or top, the end of the fan rod will not come down. It is rigidly attached to the roof. So that is the basic concept used in the penalty approach. So whatever we do mechanically, that some computer, your finite element software like your ANSYS or Abacus or Nastran or LS-DYNA, whatever it may be, that should understand. So your software will understand what exactly mechanically you are doing only through some equation. For that we require some equation. That's why you are given the example. That's you are going to explain with respect to the equations only. Now with respect to this, when you come to regular we have, that is the mechanical arrangement. Now when you come to physics of that particular mechanical arrangement, so we have the spring having very high stiffness C. So C is used for the spring stiffness, and K is nothing but C. So there are two stiffness will come into picture. So one is original structure stiffness, that is the fan rod stiffness K, and one more is mounting stiffness, that is given by C. That you should be able to differentiate between what is K and what is C. For your understanding, I have given K is equal to C. There are two stiffness. One is original structure stiffness, that is nothing but stiffness of the fan rod. And once you know the Young's modulus, once you know the EI divided by L I value as well as the length of the length, then we can get the stiffness of the fan rod. Then mounting arrangement, it is having very high stiffness, that is given by C. When you come to regular your vibration or your design of the springs, the two end of the springs are there. One end is normally were referred by x1 displacement, another one end the displacement is x2. But in penalty approach, so x1 is replaced by a1, x2 the deformation at the other end of the spring is given by q1. Now net extension of the spring or net compression of the spring is given by x2 minus x1. So instead of writing x2 minus x1, what you are generally doing in a vibration or a regular spring design, so it is given by q1 minus a1. We have just slightly changed the notation, that's all. The fundamental concept of physics or vibration or dynamics remains same. We are not going to alter any equations, only you have changed the notation. Next is what is the energy stored in the spring. So energy stored is nothing but a strain energy. The equation of the strain energy is nothing but half into kx square. General equation is the strain energy stored in the body spring. The spring means you can understand better. As for finite element analysis is considered, the building column is also considered spring having stiffness K. For that we have the stiffness matrix, that is nothing equation of the stiffness matrix for the bar. Even bar the beam, it is also considered as spring having stiffness. The stiffness already you have derived stiffness matrix for the beam element. In the similar way, we have a huge structure, that is a truss structure, that is also having some stiffness. Stiffness is nothing but most of the time you understand in terms of spring having a stiffness. It is also considered spring. So having stiffness is given by corresponding stiffness matrix. Now for the spring is considered, we have the strain energy stored in the spring is half into kx square. So k is nothing but the your spring stiffness. The x square is nothing but the net deformation. Normally x is refers to net deformation of spring, or total deformation of spring is given by q1 minus q2, that is nothing but x or net deformation. The finally you are getting one energy, strain energy. When you come to potential energy, there are two strain energy. So one is strain energy because of the deformation of the fan rod itself, and second we are adding one more component here. So that component is you are mounted the spring with this fan rod with some mounting arrangement, that is having a spring of stiffness C. That means there are two strain component. One is because of the original structure, let it be fan rod, and one more is because of the coupling. This coupling also slightly moved up and down because of very high medium even though it is having very high stiffness also. So even it is subject to loading, there may be small amount of deformation. That means when you have those two, so there are two strain energy, that is the difference between previous potential energy functional and now this potential energy functional. So one is because of the original structure. Second one is we are to add boundary condition or apply boundary condition at the one end of top end of the rod. You are added the additional stiff the coupling arrangement that is having the spring stiffness C. For that also you have to consider strain energy. That's why you are saying that the strain energy due to original structure plus strain energy due to additional spring plus we have work potential. But there are two strain energy terms. The same two strain energy terms are given by here. The strain energy due to original structure is, so in mechanics strain energy is already you have discussed. So it's in the mechanics of material, strain energy is nothing but area below stress strain curve. So area below the stress strain curve is nothing but half into sigma into epsilon. After applying Hooke's law, etc., finally the strain energy stored per unit volume is given by half into epsilon T E into epsilon. That is the strain energy, that is we are expressing in terms of epsilon and Young's modulus. But same energy equation strain energy equation you can represent in terms of in finite element analysis, that is nothing but half Q transpose K into Q. So Q is nothing but a displacement per unit. You are considering small elementary strip having unit length, hence the strain is equal to change in length divided by original length. So when the original length is 1 unit, your strain become change in length or net deformation. That is nothing but net deformation is given by Q. So Q is your displacement vector, and K is the stiffness matrix, and again Q is again displacement matrix. In finite element method, the strain energy expression is slightly modified, but original the concept remains same. Instead of using epsilon, you are using Q. That's all. So now total strain energy, the potential energy is equal to strain energy of the original structure with respect to the same fan example. Because of the elongation of the fan rod, some amount of strain energy is stored in the fan rod, plus strain energy because of the mounting structure, that is nothing but half into kx square, this minus work potential. Work potentials are nothing but force into distance. Then as per your potential energy functional is considered, we have the potential energy. The system is in the equilibrium condition only when the variation of the energy in the system is zero. Not energy is equal to zero. When variation of the energy is equal to zero, then system is in equilibrium condition. Based on that assumption, we have KQ is equal to F. We have the equilibrium equation KQ is equal to F. Only that equation applies when system is in the equilibrium condition. So either it may be the static equilibrium condition or it may be dynamic equilibrium condition. At present, up to module 4, you are talking about only the static equilibrium condition. So we have the building structure, that is static equilibrium condition. If vehicle is moving or flight is flying, so there we have dynamic equilibrium condition comes under. Only in module 5 we have vibration, the finite element analysis of the vibration structure. For that you have to go for the dynamic equilibrium condition. So now you are talking about the static equilibrium condition. Static equilibrium condition is nothing but KQ is equal to F. So that equation you obtain by equating the rate of change of energy equal to zero. The rate of change of energy is given in terms of mathematical form. So that means we have the equation pi, that is the potential energy. If you differentiate this, the rate of change of potential energy is equal to zero, then system is in equilibrium condition. That's the same thing is given. Del pi by del qi is equal to zero. That's depending upon how many variables we have. So now del pi by del q1 is equal to 0, del pi by del q2 is equal to 0, del pi by del q3 is equal to 0. That means we will get n number of equations. So corresponding, if there are n equations, there are n unknowns. Q1 to qn are unknowns. So that means we'll get n equations, n unknown. Those q1 to qn we can find out by applying the principle of minimum potential energy. Minimum potential energy is nothing but that when system is having minimum energy or rate of change of energy is equal to zero, then only system is in the equilibrium condition. Based on that, you have equilibrium equations. So, only modification we have to handle this boundary condition is we have equating Q1 is equal to A1. So when fan rod is mounted to the roof, so and that particular point, even though you are mounting with very high stiffness spring or material, still when it is subject to the huge amount of force, there may be small amount of deformation. So that's why in finite element method, using penalty approach, your Q1 is not equal to 0. So Q1 is not always equal to 0 when when you analyzing of the tall structures, you assume that base is fixed. So when you analyzing like tall structure, like huge tall buildings, you assume that base is fixed. But it is not always true, because during the earthquake, etc., base is also slightly moved forward, backward, upward, or downward because of the earthquake waves. So in such cases, we cannot say that that particular end is displacement is 0, but it has very, very small amount of deformation or displacement that is given by Q1. Instead of saying Q1 is equal to 0, In elimination approach, you are putting Q1 is equal to 0. So you are not going to find out Q1 value. But in penalty approach, so Q1 is not equal to 0. Instead of that, it has some value. So very small value. So that is given by A1. If Q2 value is, let it be 10 mm. So Q1 is very equal to 0. That is like 0.00001 mm. Then you have to find out the reaction force. So reaction force, so we have R is equal to KQ minus F. Already you have done problems on bars, even trusses also you have written R. The reaction force vector is equal to K matrix minus KQ minus F. But when you come to the penalty approach, for finding out the reaction force, there is a formula. So reaction force is equal to minus C Q1 minus A1. So Q1 is not equal to 0 or not equal to A1. There is a small difference between Q1 and A1. You have to keep at least 4 to 5 decimals for especially for the Q1. Then only we get the reaction forces. How you are getting that R1? If you go for the fundamental concept, if you can get the same equation from physics also. You can see here. In physics, we studied the stiffness K is equal to F by Y, force per unit displacement. From that, we can getting force is equal to K into Y. So when you are pulling the fan in the downward direction, so there is one more upward force is acting. That is nothing but a reaction force. Or imagine you have the spring, you are trying to push the spring in the downward direction. So spring will try to push in the opposite direction. So it will always resist deformation. That force is nothing but a reaction forces. So instead of calling F, I am saying the reaction force FR, that's equal to K into Y. So in our case, K is replaced by C into Y. So what is Y? So Y is the net deformation. If you go to, in terms of your vibration, the net deformation of the spring is given by x2 minus x1. So, but in our case, I think, so who is N? Someone is mute the audio instead of searching that Sri Prasad, mute the audio. If you have any doubt, you can clarify now. Otherwise, mute the audio system. Otherwise, I'll mute.
See, depends on a person's setting. Suppose my
But once I mute from my side, then you don't get. You cannot unmute from your side. I think. If you. I hope this PPT is visible now. Yes or no? Someone can answer. Someone can answer whether PPT is visible. Yes or no? After getting confirmation from your side, I will go ahead. Someone can unmute and tell whether PPT is visible or my voice is audible. If no one is responding, I have to assume that everything is fine. Gautam Sai, everything is fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, we are not deriving any new equations in finite element analysis. So all equations already you have studied in one or other subject, even though penalty approach in specifically might not studied in previous semester, but again penalty approach final reaction equation you can get it from this. Okay, you have the original the stiffness equation, then reaction force is given by C into Y. C is replaced by the K is replaced by C. So then deformation is Q1 minus A1. Especially when you're applying penalty approach, you don't use the K. R is equal to KQ minus F. So instead of using KQ minus F, so you are using reaction force is equal to C into Q1 minus A1. It is required not only for the heat transfer, it is required for even the finite element analysis of the bar problem also. If they ask specifically use penalty approach, you have to use only the penalty approach. You have to, when you're finding out the reaction forces, you have to use this same reaction forces. So this is required for almost all modules. I already explained once in the first month, but once again, this, especially for the heat transfer, detailed analysis is required. That's why I'm revising in detail. So value of the spring stiffness C should be very, very high. Once you get the global stiffness matrix, for that value of the global stiffness, highest value of the global stiffness, you have to multiply by 10 to the power 4. So that is the value of C. What is the value of C? C, you cannot take infinite value. If you take C is equal to infinite value, I'll take this example. If you take C is equal to infinite value, then Q1 is equal to A1, that's equal to 0. So that means we cannot have, you cannot purchase the like in a simple way. So we cannot get springs of infinite structure in the market. So even though it's the spring is very, very strong spring, so it is stiffness is not infinite, it is always finite. So but it is having very, very high value compared to your original structure of the fan rod. The stiffness of the spring, if the fan rod stiffness is let it be 1 unit, stiffness of the mounting arrangement is 1 into 10 to the power 4. 1 into 10 to the power 4 is almost, it's around 10,000 times higher. The stiffness of the fan rod is, suppose if it is 1 unit, the stiffness of the mounting arrangement is almost 10,000 unit. So that is the value of spring stiffness you have to consider. That is already explained. Now, when you come to that, is some fundamental concept of the penalty approach. Now I am taking some practical example. So solving the problems, these examples are very, very important. First, I am considering the two noded bar structure, or even if it may be two noded your heat element also. Now the node 1 has to be mounted rigidly because your displacement is 0. To make displacement is 0 in the case of penalty approach, you are mounting the node 1 with very high spring stiffness, not spring. So we are mounting the node 1 with very very high coupling arrangement. It is having the stiffness of C. Because of the coupling arrangement, this node also, the left end of the spring also moved by a small distance. The node 1 is also moved by a small distance. But strictly speaking, Q1 is equal to 0 in our actual boundary condition. But we cannot have spring of, we can get Q1 is equal to 0 only when, if we have infinite stiffness material. So practically it is very, very not possible at all to have infinite stiffness material. For that, so we have mounting spring having very high stiffness. Because of the very high stiffness, your Q1 value is almost equal to 0 or very, very close to 0. So Q1 may be around 0.0000001 mm. We can go up to 5 decimals or 6 decimal. So once, so before application of the boundary condition, as usual, you have to get the stiffness matrix for the bar element. The stiffness matrix for the bar element, two noded bar element is this, and we have equilibrium equation. So this is the equilibrium equation before application of the boundary condition. You already have done many problems. That's why I have explained this concept now. So initially you are finding out the K1, K2, and finally you are having the global stiffness matrix. From that you are getting the global equilibrium equation. Global equilibrium equation. So now already I have written global equilibrium equation. KQ is equal to F. This is for the two noded bar element. So now after application of the boundary condition using the penalty approach, so in the case of elimination approach, most of the time, even for the trusses, even for the beams, everywhere you are applied elimination approach. When node 1 is fixed, node 1 is fixed, so Q1 is equal to 0. So when Q1 is equal to 0, you are eliminating first row and first column. So that holds good only when Q1 is equal to 0. But in penalty approach, Q1 cannot be 0. Q1 is very, very equal to 0. We cannot eliminate first row and first column. So instead of eliminating first row and first column, you have to add additional stiffness. We have added additional stiffness of C. So that C you have to add in the stiffness matrix. We have original stiffness of the fan rod. So we added one more spring having stiffness C. That C value you are added here. Because we are added the stiffness, very high stiffness at very close to the node 1, or we can say at node 1 only. Hence, you have to add this C value in first row. The diagonal, we are considered diagonal element. The first row diagonal element you have to enter. If you are applying the boundary in simple way, if you are applying boundary condition at node 1, then you have to add the stiffness C at node 1. Then there is no change. And when you are applying penalty approach, so even though node 1 is fixed, so you are not writing Q1 is equal to 0. That you should be able to differentiate between your penalty approach and elimination approach. Even though your fixed node 1 is fixed as per the mechanical structure, still displacement is not 0, because there may be, in terms of mechanical work, there may be some looseness or slackness. Because of the looseness or slackness, there may be small amount of deformation. That's why you are writing Q1 is not equal to 0 in the penalty approach. So you cannot eliminate first row and first column. So Q1, Q2 you have to find out. So because of the application, this mount addition spring, so force vector also you have to modify. So original force values are F1 and F2. Because you are mounting the spring at node 1, the original force is F1. Because of the spring, there is some amount of reaction force. That reaction force is given by C into A1. Again, C into A1 is nothing but, if you go back and find the fundamentals of your this. So your reaction force is given by K into Y. Or in simple way, you are starting from your physics definition of stiffness. Stiffness is equal to force per unit deformation. So F is equal to Ky. So Y is at node 1. So Y is replaced by Y is replaced by A. This Y is replaced by A1. The deformation of the spring, addition spring is A1, and the stiffness is C. So finally, C into A1 is nothing but a force, reactive force or reaction force. That same reaction force is shown here. So strictly speaking, this is a one force component. Because of the original structure, we have this is external loading, and because of the additional spring, there is a additional loading. That is nothing but a reaction force. The reaction force is equal to K into the deformation. So K is C, the deformation is A1. Now that is for, so when if you are applying finite approach for a two-noded bar element, so you have to modify the stiffness matrix. If you are applying the boundary condition at node 1, the diagonal element 1, you have to update the stiffness. That means original value of stiffness is K1, plus we have added additional stiffness, that is C. Then when you come to force vector also you have to modify. The modified force vector is, original value of force vector is F1 and F2. Once you apply adding additional spring, you have additional reaction force. The reaction force is given by K into Y in physics definition. But when K is nothing but a spring stiffness, that is C, into deformation is, deformation of the spring C is given by A1. So finally, this force vector you have to modify, and this vector also modify. So no question of elimination in the case of penalty approach. Before application of the boundary condition also, order is 2 by 2. After application of the boundary condition also, order is 2 by 2 only, no change. So no elimination in the case of penalty approach. Now, this is the example, some typical example, simplest example. If you understand this, that is also sufficient to apply to solve the problem in either in heat transfer analysis or even in the case of the finite element analysis of the bars. Bars also you have done some problems on penalty approach. Just you have modified force vector, you have modified the stiffness matrix. If you consider three-noded bar or bar structure, three-noded is nothing but we have two elements. This is element 1 and element 2. This is bar element 1 and bar element 2. So you are familiar already. You have done many problems on the finite element analysis of the bar. So initially you are finding out the stiffness matrix for the 1, and then you are finding out stiffness matrix for the element 2. Then you are getting the global stiffness matrix. The global stiffness matrix already we have. Instead of writing some number, I am writing in terms of coefficient. We have global stiffness matrix, the global displacement vector, as well as global the force vector. So now this is finally we have KQ is equal to F. That is the equilibrium equation. The before application of boundary condition. If we are applying boundary condition by elimination approach, it is very simple. Q1 is equal to 0. You are eliminating first row as well as first column. But it is not true in the case of the penalty approach. You are not eliminating either first row or first column or last row or last column. So instead of eliminating, you are adding, you are modifying the stiffness matrix K, as well as you are modifying the force vector. The modification is nothing but you are applying the boundary condition at node 1. So corresponding the stiffness value is K11. So you are adding additional stiffness here. We can see here, this is a node 1. You are added additional spring stiffness C. So that spring stiffness value you are adding to K11. So original value of stiffness coefficient diagonal element 1 is K11. So now it is added one more component C. Then finally we have K11 dash is equal to original value of the spring stiffness K11 plus C. So then once you apply the huge amount of stiffness at node 1, so then you have to modify the force vector also. The original force vector is F1, F2, F3, F1, F2, F3. Then when you applied force at node 1, you have to modify the first row of the force vector. So the modification of the first row of the force vector is nothing but original force F1 plus that reaction forces. That is nothing but K into Y. So K is nothing but a spring stiffness C into the deformation of the spring. This particular spring is A1. That's why C into A1. You have modified. So you are not eliminating first row or first column. So even in the case of heat transfer analysis also, so there is no zero temperature boundary condition. Most of the time, temperature is known at certain, like in the internal surface of the furnace, the temperature may be known by mounting some thermocouple. So inside the internal combustion engine, if you mount some sophisticated thermocouples, high temperature thermocouple, we can get the temperature, not within the wall of the cylinder. So you cannot put within the wall of the cylinder. At one either inside surface or outside surface, we can mount thermocouple. From that, we can get the temperature. So where temperature is not equal to 0, surrounding temperature may be T infinity. So that's why that penalty approach is very, very important. Penalty approach of handling non-zero boundary condition is very, very important in the case of heat transfer analysis. Now I am considering one more case. These are the practical cases. Even you have encountered this type of boundary condition in the heat transfer, even though these things may not be given in most of the textbook. To understand heat transfer problems, I have prepared myself for different cases. So instead of boundary condition, boundary condition at node 1, so we have the boundary condition at node 3. Node 3, I think the numbering is wrong. This is 1, 2, 3. You can see here. So instead of seeing this diagram, you can see here node 1, node 2, node 3. So before application of the boundary condition, so we have first you have to find out the stiffness matrix for the, don't see the topmost diagram, you see the bottom diagram. As usual, you have to find out stiffness matrix for the element 1, stiffness matrix for the element 2. From that, you have to get the global stiffness matrix. After getting the global stiffness matrix, you have to get the global force vector, displacement vector, get global force vector. Then we have KQ is equal to F, global equilibrium equation. So now you are applying the boundary condition at node 3. So when you are applying boundary condition at node 3, so you have to modify the stiffness K33. The original value of the stiffness is 33. Once it is modified, so then new value of the stiffness become K33 plus C. This is a new value of stiffness. In the previous case, you are applied boundary condition at node 1. Hence, we modified the stiffness value of K11. You are added C at the diagonal element 1 or K11, we have added C to K11. But in our case, this particular case, so we had added stiffness value to node 3 because you are applying the boundary condition at node 3. See the second bottom diagram. Don't see this numbering issues. So that means, so at the same time, you are applying boundary condition at node 3. You are adding very huge spring of stiffness C. Hence, so you have to modify the force vector also. That is third row of the force vector. In the previous example, we are applied boundary condition at node 1. We have modified first row of the force vector. Now, we are applied boundary condition at node 3. You have to modify force third row of the force vector. The original value is F3. We are adding F3 plus CA1. That is the additional force or additional reaction force. Now there are some cases in the heat transfer analysis. Inside temperature of let it be the internal combustion engine. You are familiar. You studied thermodynamics 1 and thermodynamics 2. So internal temperature is also known. Let it be temperature. Your furnace only. You are physically you have seen the furnace in your foundry and forging lab. The inside temperature is known because thermocouple is already mounted. You can get the temperature. It will be displayed in the digital indicator. So then outside temperature also by mounting one more thermocouple at the outside surface of the furnace, outside surface of the furnace where we can see the outside surface. So that means we know temperature in that inside and temperature at outside also known. That means we have two boundary conditions. But when you come to bar, it is exactly similar to bar. So node 1 is fixed and node 3 is fixed. So that means you are adding additional spring at node 1. You are adding additional stiffness at node 3 also to make Q1 is almost equal to 0. So now this is the original stiffness matrix. So this is the original I think there is a small mistake here. So now you have to add, see here, it is already here. This is the original stiffness matrix, equilibrium equation. KQ is equal to F. So you are adding boundary condition at node 1. Hence, so K11 is replaced by K11 plus C, or you have to add C to K11. At the same time, you have to modify the force vector, first row of the force vector, that is F1 plus CA1. F1 is original force value plus because of the additional spring, so we are added CA1. Then we are applying boundary condition at node 3 also. Because of application of boundary condition at node 3, so you have to modify the diagonal element 3. So that means diagonal element 3 is K33, original stiffness is K33. So you are adding additional stiffness values to K33, that is K33 plus C. So that is not sufficient. Then you have to modify the third row of the force vector because you are applying boundary condition at third node. Hence, you are modifying third row of the force vector also. So third row of the force vector, original value is F3. Now your modified value of third node become F3 plus CA3. That is the modification. Now we have the equation. This equation, no, you are not eliminating first row or first column or third row or third column in the case of penalty approach. So you are modifying the first diagonal element of the stiffness and third diagonal element of the stiffness matrix, and first row of the force vector and the third row of the force vector. Then Q1 is not equal to 0 here in the case of penalty approach. So Q1 is not equal to 0. You have to find out the value of Q1. Similarly, Q3 is not equal to 0. Again, you have to find out the value of Q3. So that is the very, very important when you come to penalty approach. Don't eliminate first row and first column or third row and third column. So even many students are doing the mistake in the examinations without seeing whether you have to solve it by elimination approach or penalty approach. So most of the students feel that elimination approach is easy without seeing the last part of the question in the particular question, especially in the model 2. Just they eliminate first row and first column, third row and third column. Then they'll find out Q1, only Q2, they'll leave Q1 and Q3. Hence, we'll lose around more than 50% of the mark. So in most of the general question paper, they will not give which method you have to adopt. You have to only find out the displacement. This is straightforward, simple question, a straightforward question. In some question paper, they'll ask, so find out the displacement by applying the boundary condition by penalty approach. In such cases, you have to go for only penalty approach, not by elimination approach. In some examination, they may specifically ask, so get the displacement value by elimination approach, then you have to go only by elimination approach. There are one more case, they did not ask specify whether you have to go for penalty approach or elimination approach. In such cases, either you go for a penalty approach or elimination approach, you have the choice. But in general, you don't get the choice. Whatever the question, you have to read the question thoroughly, question paper thoroughly. After reading the problem statement, then only you have to go either by penalty approach or elimination approach. This is regarding penalty approach or elimination approach. If you have any doubt about this, so we can discuss for 1 or 2 minutes. Otherwise, I'll go to actual heat transfer. So this is whatever I have discussed that is required for solving the problems on heat transfer. If you have any doubt, so just try to solve. Already you have solved few problems by using penalty approach in the first month of your February month in bar. So try to do 1 or 2 problems yourself and not give additional assignment and those problems. So try to do 1 or 2 problems so that problems on the heat transfer will be easy. So now I am straight away going for the 1D heat transfer element. So you are familiar with the heat transfer. So heat transfer may take place in only one directions, or heat transfer may, imagine you have a cube. Once you heat imagine you have the long the steel rod or steel plate. If you heat the steel plate from the one end, imagine the longitudinal axis of the steel plate is referred as x-axis. So once you heat the one end of the steel rod, let it be steel rod only. So heat is transferred, it's moving from x direction. So that means heat is moving or temperature is slowly increases only in the x direction. So in the y direction, temperature remains constant. Remain constant. Then set type of heat transfer is referred as 1D heat transfer. So that means if you heat the steel rod at the one end, the temperature increases. Maximum temperature at the heating end may be around, let it be 500 degrees Celsius. Other end, the temperature of the steel rod may be around 100 degrees Celsius. If you take the cross section at any point in the steel rod, imagine at a distance of 10 mm, if you cut the steel rod, but if you can see the cross section in the normal direction, temperature at each and every point, the temperatures remain same. In the simple way, if it is a cantilever beam, the top end, if the temperature is 100 degrees Celsius, 200 degrees Celsius, the bottom end is also 200 degrees Celsius. That means there is no variation of the temperature along y direction. There is no variation of the temperature along z direction. The variation of the temperature exists only in the only one direction. Then such type of the heat transfer is referred as 1D heat transfer. I think we are familiar with those 1D heat transfer. So the heat transfer is predominantly only in one direction. That is one part. Then there is no variation in temperature along y direction at any cross section. There is no change in the temperature along the z directions. Then set type of heat transfer is referred as 1D heat transfer. Best example is, so imagine we have the steel rod of very small diameter. If you heat the one end of the steel rod, the heat is flow from one end to the other end. Heat is transferred from one end to the other end. So that is best example for 1D heat transfer. So now we are going to coming to the finite element analysis of heat transfer problems. When you come to finite element analysis of the heat transfer problem, I think you are familiar with the composite wall. I think you are doing some experiment in heat transfer laboratories also. So we have a composite material. We have two materials joined together. So one material is having different thermal conductivity. Another material is also having different thermal conductivity. In terms of heat transfer terminology, the left part of the wall, composite wall, is having the thermal conductivity K1. The right part of the wall is having thermal conductivity K2. So one end, there is a conduction heat transfer. Within the material, there is a conduction heat transfer. So when this composite wall exposed to the atmosphere, So heat is dissipated to the atmosphere by convection heat transfer. You are familiar with convection heat transfer. Q is equal to H into the temperature difference. There's a convective heat transfer coefficient. H is thermal convective heat transfer coefficient. But within the composite wall, the heat transfer is conduction. But other end of the wall, if it is exposed to the atmosphere, like a furnace wall, or if you consider the iron box, the bottom face of the it is exposed to once it is exposed to the temperature, so heat is transferred to the surrounding medium by convection process, not by conduction process. So now we are for our typical example, we are considering two elements. There are two walls are there, two material. So one material is having a thermal conductivity K1, another material is having the thermal conductivity K2. So that's why you have to go for minimum two element, because each element, this is left element, left wall and right wall, those two walls having different thermal conductivity. Hence, it is referred as a composite wall. Not necessarily it is composite material. Don't confuse between composite material and composite wall. But the one wall is one portion of the wall is having different thermal conductivity. Another portion of the wall is having different thermal conductivity. Best example is in internal combustion engine. We have cylinder liner. Cylinder liner is having different material. Cylinder liner material is totally different, and cylinder material is totally different. So cylinder liner is having different thermal conductivity. So cylinder is having different thermal conductivity. That is also example for the composite wall. So when you come to the furnaces, inside surface of the furnace, it's made up of some ceramic material. The brick wall that is having different thermal conductivity, very low thermal conductivity. The outside wall, the steel structure, that supporting structure has different thermal conductivity. That's also example for the composite wall. Or when it comes to the heat transfer, in simple analysis, the one portion of the wall is having one thermal conductivity, another portion of the wall is having different thermal conductivity, K1 and K2. Hence, you are dividing the complete wall, composite wall, into two elements. If there are three different thermal conductivity, then you have to divide the complete composite wall into three elements. But there are only two walls. So hence, you are divide the complete your structure into two elements, element 1 and element 2. Element 1 is having different value of K, element 2 is having different value of K. So now when you come to what in the case of bar, you are finding out the displacement at the node. In the case of torsion, you are finding out what is the angular deformation at different node. When it comes to heat transfer, you have to find out the temperature at different nodes. So now you are saying at node 1, so temperature is not equal to 0. Temperature is known at node 1. Known in the sense, we have some certain measuring equipment like thermocouple, etc. Thermocouple is mounted on the left side wall. So because of that, temperature is known on the left side wall. But temperature is not equal to 0. The temperature is given by T0. So because of the T0, it is a boundary condition. So T0 is not equal to 0. Hence, when you are applying most of the time, you are applying for non-zero boundary condition, either by penalty approach, or there is one more method that is referred as elimination approach. Also, we can go for non-zero boundary condition. Elimination approach I have not explained. So after doing some derivations, then I'll explain elimination approach also. Some problems you are going for penalty approach, some problem you are going for the elimination approach. This complete your heat transfer problem is divided into two elements, element 1 and element 2. So instead of finding out the displacement, so here in the case of heat transfer, you are finding out the temperature at node 1. What is the temperature? What is the node 2? What is the temperature? Those temperature you have to find out. Or you can say that here temperature is a function of only linear dimensions. It's a function of only linear dimension x. The temperature varies only along x direction, not along y direction. Suppose in the bottommost point of this wall, if the temperature is 100 degrees Celsius, top surface of the wall is also 100 degrees Celsius. If you consider rightmost face of the wall, if the bottommost temperature is, let it be around 150 degree, the topmost surface is also having same 150 degree, because there is no variation of the temperature along y direction. There may be variation of the temperature along the x direction. On the leftmost wall, temperature may be 200 degrees Celsius. On the rightmost wall surface, temperature may be 100 degrees Celsius. But there is a variation of the temperature along X direction, no variation of the temperature along Y direction or along Z direction. Then only such type of heat transfer system can be analyzed as 1D heat transfer element, or it is referred as a 1D heat transfer in conventional term. When it comes to finite element analysis, you are using 1D heat element. Instead of saying 1D heat transfer element, you are saying 1D heat element. So now for 1D heat transfer, steady state equation with no heat source is given by this equation. There is no heat source means if you consider iron box, so inside the iron box, there is a heat source is there. So, but even in the case of if you consider a whole complete internal combustion engine, so heat is generated within the engine itself because of the burning of the fuel. That is why we have heat source. We have a complete engine system. Within the engine system, there is a heat source is there. But when you come to turbo machines, if you consider the casing, inside the casing, so when fluid flows over the turbo machine blades of the turbines, so then there is no heat source. Already steam heat, the water is heated, already it is in the steam. So only this your heat energy is converted into some other form of energy, but there is no heat source in the case of your turbines is considered, as well as your gas turbine is also considered. There is no heat source within the turbine blades. So those are that's the case where is no heat source. For simplicity, we assume that there is no heat source. At least you should know what are the few examples where so some amount of heat source is there, some amount of there is no heat source. Best example is iron box. Within the iron box, there is a heating coil. That is the heat source. If you consider the complete internal combustion engine, so within the internal combustion engine, there is a heat source because of the burning of the fuel. But if you come to only turbine blade, it may be steam turbine blade or it may be gas turbine blade used in aircrafts, etc. There is no heat source. The heat is already produced by burning of the fuel in the separate area. So that heat is converted. Heat is used for generation of the steam or generation of the high temperature gases in the case of steam turbine as well as in the case of gas turbine. So now finally we end with, so dq by dx is equal to d square by dt d square t by dx square, that's equal to 0. That equation you are familiar. So you are familiar with this equation. Heat flux q is equal to minus k into dt by dx. But if we have one more equation, q is equal to minus k a dt by dx. Capital letter Q is equal to the total heat transfer, but lowercase letter q refers to the heat transfer per unit area. In most of your finite element analysis, you are considering heat transfer per unit area. Hence, you are not multiplying by A here. Normally, you have the formula Ka delta T divided by L. So, L is replaced by dx. Dx is nothing but the length of the element. So, K is thermal conductivity of the element. The dt is the temperature difference. That for element 1, the temperature difference may be T2 minus T1. For element 2, temperature difference may be T3 minus T2. I think with this, so I'll wind. So tomorrow I'm continuing with the same heat transfer. The heat transfer, 1D heat transfer analysis, you are going for small derivation with respect to the interpolation function or shape function for heat transfer element. I started, I have given brief introduction about the heat transfer, the 1D heat transfer. If we have any doubt, I think this part already was studied in heat transfer. I hope you are not, no need of explain in details about the fundamentals of heat transfer as you already are studying in heat transfer. Further, you are studying one more subject. I think I'll leave the session. If you have any doubt, you can ask now. Any of notes is given, complete heat transfer analysis notes is given. So you can refer the notes. For timing, you can refer the notes by using your mobile, or you can save it in your system or laptop. But once the situation becomes normal, so better to take the printout, and in the hard copy, better to study. And only important point, important steps, and important formula, take one highlighter and highlight it, or put some underline. That way you have to study. If you keep everything soft copy, if you try to read, that may not be sufficient, especially for subject like this. If subject like material science or some other theory subject, we can keep everything soft copy, we can prepare for the examination. But when it comes to subject like problematic subject, especially like finite element analysis, just by reading in the laptop or in your mobile phone, that is not sufficient. You have to take the hard copy for temporary. We also understand now no option may not be available for most of them, except those who are in the printer. Once comes normal, take the printout and keep it with you. So even hard copy also, I may keep it in Xerox center once college reopens. So you can directly get it Xerox. That will be Xerox will be very clear instead of taking the printout from your own soft copy. So okay, thank you. We'll meet tomorrow, day after tomorrow. I think you can leave the session because one more session is started. Next we have one more class. I think we have DME class.